Bedian. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Welcome
That's
to
me.
welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. I have seen you and watched your presentations at a couple of Saeed David's 5D events, and including the recent one that I just so happened to win. Yes, win lottery ticket drawing of sorts, enter to win tickets, and I happened to be selected to win that heart activation one in Wairika, California. Seems like the West Coast always has the best conferences compared to the East Coast, so I end up traveling a lot there for a lot of these conferences and events, and this one was certainly a great conference, and it was interesting how at the Las Vegas conference over Easter weekend, I was like the only person in your audience, but that's not because you were a bad presenter. I think you certainly aren't. It's just
Yes.
that it was on Easter weekend, and that was kind of a bad idea scheduling it during Easter weekend. And
And
um,
there was two other talks simultaneously, actually three other talks at the same time as my talk.
yes,
So I was
so
talk number four people had to choose from.
right,
Lucky.
so Will, I'll give you the chance to, I guess, regurgitate everything that you have to say in the presentations that you give at that conference, as well as other presentations that you have. This is your chance to give abridged versions of this presentation. We can go for a full 2 hours, going from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If for whatever reason you wanted to cut it short, then just let me know. But I'm willing to go a full 2 hours at the most. So, with that being said, please tell us who you are. What did you experience that causes you to do the stuff that you do? What is your job? What is your profession? And how does it help humanity? And then we'll get into all the science and everything else after that. I got my notepad handy to jot down anything if I hear anything interesting. Alan Bedian, you got the floor.
Sounds fun. Yeah, so in general, I am a computer geek from birth. Yeah, I was born into a family with my dad working for IBM, so I had the first computers when I was 8 years old and started programming, started my own bulletin board system, started doing all the fun stuff that kids do, pirating software and music and everything like that in the first strain of it. And uh, and I just got better and better, and it was just kind of like swimming. It was a natural thing for me, and just been trying to use my skills to maximize benefit for the world, I guess. So working on a lot of software development and trying to go independent with it rather than trying to build stuff up for other people like I've been doing most of my life. Yeah, so like you were talking about the websites that I had up, I've done probably about 100 different web pages for other people, and each one different. Most of them are down now, unfortunately, because standards change, but or people change too. My websites, main one I've been kind of putting some work into is my artwork website, which is 5dfractals.com. Where I've been exploring kind of a fractal landscape of, with artificial intelligence using different math equations that I've been kind of figuring out and navigating my way through. And let's see, I've had a interesting background growing up since I went to college in UC Santa Cruz. Very liberal, progressive, spiritual, experimental kind of college. And I got to develop my own major, where originally I was starting out as computer science, but I was also into music, I was also into art, and was into pretty much every single field. And I felt kind of limited in the computer science field. So I created my own major called multimedia, where I got to take classes from every single major pretty much. So classes in psychology, philosophy, art, music, entertainment, film and video, um, and everything revolving around technology in one form or another, and kind of navigated uh, the original like cyber virtual spaces, the 3D landscapes, and did a lot of 3D animation back then too. Was getting into 3D modeling and sculpting, and yeah, it was just a crowded industry. Getting into being an animator, I didn't quite want to work at a studio, but I was good enough where I could have. But at the same time, uh, I was inventing new programs, new software, new game ideas, new business applications, and just had that dream to run with. And so let's see. Yeah, any questions so far?
Well, if that's a good starting point, I believe that's a good way to start off. And now I'd like to give you the opportunity to, thinking back to that presentation where I was the lone audience member in in Las Vegas. There were a lot of things you had to view there. I mean, if you want to make a sales pitch out of this,
Yeah,
is that's what you were trying to do in a sense, then well, you're
it
more
is
than welcome to do it.
not.
But you say it isn't, but it's okay if it is. You're more than welcome to do that. Please tell us exactly. Well, I want you to regurgitate everything that you said to the
Well,
best of your ability in that presentation in this talk right now. I know we don't have any visuals here, so I hope that won't be a problem. But people are free to use their imaginations, and you can of course tell them where they can access all this stuff that you're going to be talking about here. So, Las Vegas presentation to the best of your ability, given a bridge version. You got the floor.
well, each of the talks that I've done at the 5D events, I've picked a different subject to lecture on for each event. This last one, I've been kind of doing more of a best of products presentation. In the past, I've done talks on utopia creation, on what the actual ideal world would look like, how we can get there, how we can solve the world problems, how we can create a world that actually works for everybody. And that talk was Utopicopia, which was a project that I was working on back then for writing up a screenplay and doing a documentary on creating that perfect world. That was a fun presentation. I've also done talks on ionology, which is a study of the mysterious mystery body of Ion, who's kind of a paramedium channeler that is the voice of non-physical that I've been absorbed into for past, like 9 years or so, and became kind of an expert on that. And we can talk about that further in the talk. Excuse me, sip of coffee there. So this last talk was oh damn it, was taking all the research that I've been doing in different products that are available out there. That I've been uh, very kind of endorsing, not as a sales pitch, but more of something to help people out, to give them the best products that they can find, the best nutritional stuff, the best things for reaching ascension. And that's been my other topic that I've been kind of getting into, is figuring out means to reach ascension faster, to evolve the body, evolve the spirit, to kind of take the shortcuts wherever possible, and just kind of get to the point of where we're supposed to be as human species. And there's a lot that's been coming up in that field, and a lot of biblical things on top of that are the times that we're facing right now. And now I think it's kind of our responsibility on this planet to anybody that wants to survive and to get to their place of no limitations, we've got to kind of reach that level of ascension any means possible. And if we don't, there may be problems down the road with staying as little man. So some of the product. Well, it's a lot easier when I have my slideshow to go through the list of the products. I wasn't planning on getting into that talk necessarily, since that was more of a slideshow crash course. But if needed, we can pull out the slideshow and I can go through things like that. So yeah, kind of steer me in the right direction here.
Yeah, well, of course, if you have that in front of you, and I mean, I can't turn this into a video thing. I don't actually have a Skype
Yeah,
camera. I try to
yeah,
keep
don't
the
need that.
radio integrity of this, but you are more than welcome to visualize the thing and like pretend that you have a camera to be talking about this. And like I said, the guests can, the listeners, excuse me, can use their imagination to
Totally.
figure out what you're talking about. So, want to do it that way?
Yeah, we can go that way.
Yeah, by all means. We got 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to fill it up.
Sounds good.
Great.
All right, so to pull up that presentation, have to give me a moment here to get it on my phone. Let me
No
see.
problem.
I wish.
And hopefully the end of the Mercury retrograde cycle and the
Yeah.
will not cause communication problem. They always say there's always a residual effect there. And oh, your camera's on,
Yep.
but
Accent.
okay. Residual effects of Mercury retrograde, they say, lasts for a little while after it officially ends. Don't know the exact time of the when the planet Mercury went retrograde today, but also significant that we have got the new moon in Leo, which well, seems to be a lot of fun things involved with that. So,
And yeah, and being a techie, I've always been a lot more susceptible to Mercury being in retrograde.
I can see why.
Yeah, where I've always been kind of more sensitive around technology, where I even have a bit of a psychic link when I'm working on computers. Yeah, like one of my day jobs is computer consultant, where basically take on whatever problems people throw my way, figure out the solutions, figure out the answers, figure out the fix, and just know how to do what I need to do to get things working right. And that's one of my special powers, I guess.
Mm.
But sometimes the forces of the universe kind of conspire against us, and the tech body isn't always in our favor. You know, just because we built the technology does not mean it's always on our side.
Yeah. A lot of people were actually saying there's something significant about this moon. I don't really know of anything significant about it. Well, I mean, it's the second new moon of the month, but the phrase blue moon, 2 moons in a month, that's 2 full moons in a month. I don't think it pertains to 2 new moons in a month, or if there's a phrase to describe that. And although it's funny, people were talking about some big significance behind this moon. I didn't really know what they were really referring to. Although it's funny they mentioned that because I just downloaded, or bought, I should say, and downloaded from numerologist.com for just $7 this program. How to make most of the lunar cycles and whatnot, new moon rituals, quarter moon rituals, and full moon rituals and such, and plan to use that. So I guess I should interpret this as a sign from the universe that it was a great thing that I decided to purchase that and start planning to read that on my train ride to Virginia tomorrow, and be a good time. The new moon is at 11:13 p.m. tonight, so I guess the new moon day would actually be tomorrow because it's supposed to be the day of a new moon, not the night of a new moon. It's only night of a full moon because new moons are during the day. So, how you do with your presentation there? You almost ready?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Regarding the astrology, that's another thing that I've always loved using technology to try to divine answers from, in figuring out the natal chart and knowing where a person was born on the planet, what the time of birth and the exact position of each of the planets, each of the the moon, the stars, and everything that affects kind of what our personality is potentially to be. From the position of the planets, trying to find the scientific answer to what astrology actually is, what's going on up there in the stars that has any effect here on how we are as a Pisces, an Aquarius, or whatever, and why that actually has any kind of impact on our lives if it does. Just because the interpretations that we read in a newspaper on a horoscope or inaccurate does not mean that the science of astrology does not have some application. Just because we can't fully interpret what what a particular degree of the planet is to our relation of ourselves here. But on that point, I kind of my best theory on astrology that I've been kind of piecing together is at the time of our birth, when we take our first breath, we're basically imprinted with the entire universe, where we get a snapshot in a fractal holographic sense of the entire universe around us, not just the planets that are here, but continuing on into infinity. But the planets that are closest to us have the most impact on what we experience because they're the nearest bodies that have an energetic effect. But I think it's not just our little solar system that we get influence from, but everything going on in the universe that has a subtle impact on our lives here. So, all right, here's my presentation going up. My first slide I got was on the tensor rings, which I've been very fascinated with the phenomena of the tensor rings, where what we've discovered is that there's cubit lengths that you can find them all over the pyramids, all over the different ancient landmarks where they use these cubit length ratios in measurement of things. They're kind of like the ascension timeline, what do the Egyptians call it? The ascension years, where you basically take copper wires and twist it, and then you cut it into exact cubit length, the sacred cubit lengths, and weld it together into a ring. And the energy that it puts out is pretty palpable. You can really feel it. I put it on top of my bottles of water to charge them up. I use them with my bubble tech device that I'll get into a little bit more in detail about later. And people wear them as necklaces in the cubit lengths, or as underneath their beds to kind of amplify their dreams. And it has a definite impact. The best website I found to buy that yourself, you can make it yourself, but if you wanted to buy a pre-made one, the one I liked was twistedsage.com. And they've got some different chargers and sacred geometry stuff and tensor ring technologies, which are very interesting. Next slide, I got the quantum spanner. This has been one of the alternatives to the regular flower of life that people know. Where most people see the pretty flower of life with the concentric rings and all that, as we know it in the tree of life Kabbalah in a specific way. But this new discovery is more of the accurate version of what the flower of life was or is, and how it actually applies to our body. And it's kind of a scalar energy ring, concentric ring thing. It's got 12 rings going around from the center. It's very similar to the Armenian eternity sign that I've always grown up with and always figured that there was some connection to. And really, it was to show the quantum spanner shape. Website you can see information on that is quantumspanner.com. And the guy that discovered it was one of the speakers at the 5D event. But there was also the new form of the Kabbalah tree that is much more, it's symmetrical instead of the normal offset of the nodes. And when you kind of put that together into the geometry, you find a whole different application for what you can do with the Kabbalah, how you can actually power things off of it, how it's kind of more of a generator than just a pretty shape. And there's some scalar technologies that I think are still going to evolve out of that. Then I got the Jing orb, which made from one of my friends at also at the shows. The Jing orb, it's endorsed by David Wolf, and it's an expensive device, but the effects of it are very tingly and awakening. Where it's a orb that you put into a tub of distilled water, and it kind of sends an electrical current through it that's Jing energy force. It's different than the chi. It's different than other types of subtle energies that we feel. It actually goes in and wakes up the cells of your body. It goes in and kind of awakens the cellular membrane, and they've been finding some amazing results with autistic children, with people with head injuries. After a certain amount of uses, they're able to speak more fluidly. They're able to be a little bit more conscious in the now. And the times that I've used it, I've always kind of felt this relaxed state of just kind of being centered. Where you feel your heart more attuned. Yeah, that's the right word. Your heart attunes to the universe more when you're in that state of calmness, and you're not tied into the brain as much as we normally try to be. So that's been one of my studies there too, is to get out of my brain, to kind of pull things out of my thoughts in my head and kind of bring them down to my heart. And since I've been doing that, I've been finding a lot of nice shifts in the world. Where I've always been more mind-centered, thinking it's all about brain development, thought formation, and neural pathways and knowledge collection. But what I've been discovering more is that kind of keeps us in a place of darkness. And, to kind of be in the light, you want to be in the heart. You don't need to be stuck in thought. You want to be, there present inside of heart. And it might sound airy fairy, but, there is a science behind it. And, you can see from Heart Math Institute was one of my favorite companies that figured out devices and did the research to see what heart activation, what heart connection actually is. So that's a nonstop practice that I think a lot of us are going through. You can't. Oh, it's hard to always be in your heart, but the more you practice it, the longer you can stay there, and the less you have to go into the world of the brain, which I appreciate because my brain is a very chaotic place most of the time. So next I have David Sereta's technology. He's got a very advanced Rife machine, and I've always been a big fan of the Royal Raymond Rife machines. That was one of the technologies that was banned for quite a long time. Where they silenced Royal Raymond Rife for many decades, not wanting this technology to be out because it cured so many things. As a solution to many forms of cancer and to viruses in the body. It basically resonates at the goes through frequency range sweep through your body and finds the resonant frequency of the foreign agents inside of your body, and by matching that frequency, basically kills the foreign viruses inside of the cells. So David Sereta has a very nice one that kind of looks like a flashlight, but using like quantum gems and ion resonators and some scalar technology in there that really works. Yeah, I need to get one for myself, but the times that I've used it was very noticeable, and you feel what's going on in your body when you're sensitive enough to experience what's internal to us. He also has a light stream mantra coil. That's a PEMF therapy device. It hangs on your wall with a geometric pattern of copper wires, and it's programmable from the cell phone app, where you basically tune in what frequencies you want it to project, what you're trying to, whether you're trying to create an environment that's more energized and hyper and awake, or an environment that's more, peaceful, restful, relaxed. If you're trying to go for focus and in the now, it can kind of, permeate the surrounding area with those frequencies that you feel within your body. And quite an interesting piece of technology that is. The other Rife machines that I kind of liked was the Spooky 2 and the now on Generation X, and the BCX Ultra Deluxe was another model that I got to experiment with at the Contact at the Desert. That uses more argon tube electrical leads that you hold with your hands, and lets the frequencies go through your body and do what it does. There's also the quantum balancing device that's hard to explain. It's using some of the research from Royal Raymond Rife, but also making some fractal-based quantum scalar antennas and plasma tubes inside of the device. You can see them on the website quantumbalancing.com. Yeah, so I want to note I'm not endorsing any products of my own. I'm more focused on highlighting what other people have already made, and showcasing what I think is worth looking into and possibly worth purchasing for kind of building ourselves up to using technology as our tools as it's supposed to be, but for spiritual development, not just for business stuff. That's the best application for it, is to make us better and help our own our own abilities. Like one that I found was the staff of Moses as a ancient technology for basically creating magic and manifestation instantly. And this was supposedly figured out from the in between the lines within the Bible and figuring out the science behind how Moses actually created his magic. What the staff of Moses was that God gave him to part the seas and to go head to head against the pharaohs. And this is also using the sacred cubit length that I was discussing earlier, where it's in that exact cubit ratio. In the length of it, on the top of it, it's got different gems and special stones. It's gold is used, and you can make your own staff of Moses from do-it-yourself parts, probably for like $200. The normal price of it is, I don't even want to quote it. It was fairly high, but considering that if it actually works, gives you the ability to manifest, it pretty much pays for itself at that point. So that I have not played with, but I've done a lot of research on different Moses technologies, and this one kind of stood out for me. Then I've got the Heart Math Institute Inner Balance Trainer that I've always been a fan of the Heart Math Institute. They've had a place in my heart since I was living in Santa Cruz for so long, and the Heart Math Institute was up there in Boulder Creek. My cousin worked there. I had friends that used to work there and research and study there, and really liked what they had going on, bringing in science and technological research into heart science. And I think that's where more scientists need to kind of look into. But what the Inner Balance Trainer does, and also the M-Wave is their other device. The M-Wave 2 is like a handheld or kind of a belt buckle thing that you put on sensor on your ear. You can also put the sensor on your finger, and what it does is picks up on the subtle heart beating, the heartbeat and the frequencies that come out of the heart, and analyzes it with using an algorithm to figure out the distance between each heartbeat, and figures out basically when you are in the zone, when you find yourself in the heart-centered position, when you're like fully connected with that. It doesn't actually put you there. It lets you know when you are there to kind of train you to be there more often. And this is used by a lot of athletes and Olympians and people that need to perform at such a high level with such quick reflexes. The brain doesn't process reflexes as fast as the heart does. All information from the nervous system and from the body passes through the heart before it goes up to the brain as a filter. So the heart is the one that pulls your hand back when you feel hot or danger. That signal to pull your hand back doesn't come from the brain. It comes from the gray matter in the solar plexus area, and it's definitely a more accurate source of information than brain. So the Heart Math website, by the way, is heartmath.org. And they have some amazing books too, and some good studies, and the devices I would highly recommend to people that are trying to put themselves in that in the zone, as they call it. They also have a freeze frame technique that I really like on how to basically stop what you're doing and move your thinking into your heart center to make the best decisions, to know the right answers, to basically tap into that all-knowing knowledge center that we all have access to. So let's see. Next slide is for Creation Lightship. So this was a friend of mine, Ron Amatron, and a lot of people have heard of him. Especially people that go to the Conscious Life Expos and see his light infusion chambers or go to any of his very controversial lectures and workshops. That was the most polarizing out of all the speakers I've ever been to, where people either like love him, absorbed by him, follow him, and just get it, or they're like, oh, this stuff is just too weird for me. I gotta go. And I've seen so many people walk out of his talks. It's hilarious. But he had and I'm saying had past tense because recently, last September, he had transitioned to that light ship. And so the healings that he was doing was a very unique modality that he was pretty much the only person on the planet that was able to heal people's emotional issues and physical issues in a unique way where he has access to this actual light ship with these light beings. They're not physical. They are extraterrestrial, but the kinds that you can trust, the ones without bodies. The physical aliens, they're more, a little bit more questionable as to their motives, as to their alliance. The only ones you can trust, as Ron Amatron described, was the ones that come of the light. But yeah, this subject is one that I can get into for a while. It freaks some people out because we're talking about multiple realities that we're basically cloned on, where a version of ourselves are in those worlds that are basically time shared by these I guess I can say alien beings that feed off of our fears, feed off of our pains, and they're what the idea is that they've created thousands of versions of us cloned from our cloned DNA on these different worlds, and they keep us kind of in a state of struggle in those places where they can feed on us more directly. And what he was able to do was go to those parallel worlds and declone you, where like pretty much eliminate you from this planet, kind of like the Jet Li movie The One, which was getting into that realm. The other movie that was based on Ron Amatron's research was Jupiter Ascending, where it got into how they actually abduct us, how they stop time and go in and kind of pull us up and do what they do and bring us back down in a split nanosecond where you don't even notice. You feel like a little deja vu effect, or you get a little, twinge of something just happened. And I've had that happen to me many times. And it happens to everybody, apparently. It's not an exclusive thing. According to him, we've been, we're constantly being abducted. And it's not the normal form of abduction that people kind of visualize when they hear that. So I had developed a cell phone app for Ron Amatron, where I created programmed it in Unity and made a very nice, basically healing on demand cell phone app where you can dial in an issue that you want to clear and pick from the different categories like timeline crashing and multi-generational body clearing and energetic past life stuff. And when you dial it in, you pay for the clearing, and connects to him in the light ship and sends it to you using scalar energy and whatever technology that light ship had, and frees you of those burdens. And I've spent a lot of time working with Ron on what the phenomena is all about, what's going on up there, and what that battle is that we're all fighting that we don't even know that's occurring. And it's some serious stuff that is a little bit frightening when you really dig into it. And it's not the kind of stuff that other alien researchers are talking about. Very few of them actually know about some of these phenomena. So in the cell phone app that I made for him, I did have the mind to heart drop. That was one of his favorite techniques. That was even his dying word, or dying request for us to use the mind to heart drop. That if he left any legacy behind, is that people actually use this technique to be in the now, to be in the light. And the only way to prevent those dark forces that have been abducting and doing their thing. There's really no way to stop them except for to be in our own light. The more powerful we are, the more joy we have, the more connected inside of the hearts we get, the more immune we are, to them doing what they do. The weaker we are, the more chaotically emotional and everything. That's when we're a lot more susceptible to that phenomena, and we want to avoid that. So I might as well explain the mind to heart drop very quickly, since it's a very easy one and it's one that I like people to know about. So basically, you picture a ball of energy inside of your head to start with, where you picture this consciousness sphere in your head, and you say out loud, "I now command my spirit to take the thoughts from my head and drop them into my heart." And then what you do is you visualize in the count of 10, the thought dropping, that thought sphere dropping down from your head and putting into your heart, where you do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you see it like an elevator where you drop those, drop your consciousness downwards, and do it 3 times, where 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you do it right, you find that your brain stops to work, where you can't actually, the mind chatter is gone. You can't think in the same way. You can't process your memories when you're there in the heart. You can't access the same memories that you can when you're in your head. And you're just in a where you don't need memories, because you know what you need to know when you need to know it. It's not something that you need to go back and grab that thing that you learned from somebody else. Instead, you do what's coming from spirit. So there's a lot more I can say about Ron Amatron, but I'll move past that. If you want to see his website, it is creationlightship.com. And it has some very intriguing stuff there. And I should share at some point some of the talks that I have on DVD of him that nobody else has copies of. That was some incredible, detailed, just delving into the scary unknown. And stuff is not for everybody, but it's definitely some things that is worth knowing, because once again, very few people have the knowledge, and knowledge needs to be shared, needs to be known. Certain things we need to kind of be more aware of if we want to, if you want to know. So, all right, next I got, let's see, here's my copper pyramids that uses the exact ratio of the pyramids in the 51.52 degrees in a certain arrangement. When you put things under these pyramids, I have mine on my side of my bed or on my altar, and for the longest time I've been using it as a charging station. Where I put my water underneath it, or I put vitamins in under the pyramid. I put crystals around it to kind of amplify, and face the pyramid north on one of the sides. And it has a very interesting effect where you can put say for example a ripe banana underneath these pyramids, and put the same banana in the same another banana in the same level of ripeness off to the side, and that banana will stay ripe for weeks without even getting a brown spot on it. Where it just keeps its vitality going, and does not start to rot. You can also put your razor blades underneath it for like put my shaving blades under the pyramid, and actually has an effect of sharpening the blades, where it gets into the nano level on the tip of the razor blades, and somehow sharpens it and enhances it. And I've also found like flavors being brought out of things a lot more by the pyramid effect. And something that you can do yourself or get cheap, or it's worth looking into. People have giant size versions above their beds, and has some interesting effect on our dreams. And dreams are another subject that Ron Amatron has kind of enlightened us on what's actually going on in our dream spaces. And turns out that most of the time they're in actual physical realms and shared spaces. And it's a form of astral travel, but a lot of our dreams are astral traveling in these different dimensions. Sometimes you're looking at those clone body versions of yourself, from their perspective, and little snippets in your dreams. Other times you're astral traveling where it feels like you're in a real body, but you don't have the same limitations as here. I can get into that more, but maybe later. Then I have the purple plates. This is a tech that I saw at Conscious Life Expo. That the second I touched, I felt this bizarre, hard to even describe the energy from it. So these purple plates are based on Tesla free energy technology. We're using the frequency that Tesla was using for generating his free energy from the universe. They found a way to infuse that frequency into these aluminum plates. Nice purple anodized color, and you can use it for headache relief. They have it like as headbands that really works. I've tested it out on a few different people. I don't get headaches as much myself. I just get my head just goes weird, but with this, it actually pulls out any of the dark energies. You can use it for pain points for on the body. It gets rid of bruises faster. You can use it as wristband. It just kind of keeps you balanced and centered. Also has a plate that I've used underneath my pyramid for as part of my charging station, and it was definitely worth looking into. That website is purpleplates.com. Then I get into the orgone devices, and a lot of people have been getting more into the orgone, seeing them around the pyramids or whatever tower busters that not cancel out, but neutralize the negative effects of the EMF frequencies and all the wireless that's constantly in our air. And also from our phones, from pretty much society, we're bombarded. It's hard, you can't avoid it. No point in trying to escape to the forests. The best thing we can do is find devices that can protect us from it. So it just kind of passes through. It doesn't cancel out, like I said. It instead, kind of neutralizes changes the resonance of our own body, so it passes through us without getting stuck inside of our cells. That's the best way I think I can put it. So the orgone devices, most people know, but they're either plaster or resin-based device with inside you have a variety of swarf metals. You put in like copper, gold, silver, whatever you have, crystals and shungite and amethyst and other things that people experiment with, trying to find the most power behind it. I keep my orgone devices by my bedside, on my phone, just kind of general clearing up the house to keep it a little bit more protected from all that going on, all the invisible stuff going on around us. So, and there's a lot of people that have it as a hobby to create less expensive versions of these orgone devices and throw them underneath cell phone towers and help protect their neighborhoods. And it's been pissing some people off, but it's helping out a lot more, so it's worth it. Then a new discovery is the Montmorillonite clay crystals, which one of the most ancient technologies out there, since it's of the earth, of course. The Montmorillonite is basically it's a crystal, it's a rock, it's a powder, it's a clay, all at the same time. Where the frequency of it is also based on some, emits Tesla energies. Where you can use it as a free energy device. But the clay crystals themselves have so many benefits that I've been figuring out more and more uses for. Where it's more of a vibrational based medicine. You can make the ancient Indians used to use this to make cloud water, where they get the powdered form of the montmorillonite and add it to best to use distilled water rather than regular water, because when you add the fine powder to it, it operates more on vibration rather than what the substance of this rock is. So distilled water gives it a more clear vibrational field to kind of move in, whereas regular water kind of gets stuck in the minerals and the impurities and stuff, and distorts the vibration of it. But you can use it as a tooth powder, where it's one of the very few things that can rebuild enamel and reverse tooth decay, and polishes more fine. And it's all the same rock, just in a finer milled form. You can use it in your hot tub, where you can put it inside of your jacuzzi or spa, and you put in one treatment of the aliens, the ancient alien spa treatment, is how he branded it. I kind of like it. And one use of it will last an entire year of not having to use chlorine, not having to use any chemicals. You can keep your hot tub fresh as long as you keep it covered. As one of the caveats there is, when it exposes to sun, it does alginate faster than regular water or chlorinated water would. But that's usually not a problem for hot tubs. But it actually makes it healthy to soak in, where you can soak in there, deal with, helps with arthritis and bone pains. The montmorillonite can eliminate bruises and help with blood circulation. I also have it in a necklace pouch form that I got from Dan Golden, and very interesting energy when you carry it around on your neck. It kind of completes the circuitry, so to speak. Also, it's a tissue regenerator, where you mix it in with distilled water and you make a clay mud with it, and you can put it on any part of your body where you have issues. It can eliminate scars. It can get rid of blemishes and joint pains. I've experimented with it with my parents when they have like knee issues or hip problems, things like that, where I make the paste for them. And you want to keep, and when you apply it, you want to keep it moist. You don't want to let it dry out, because it needs the liquid form of it to send out the frequencies that it does. So the website for that is goldennevelite.com. Or nevelite.com. That's spelled Nevalite. And he's also friends of the 5D events. And I have some talks from him up on 5dstreams.com that I moderate. So the montmorillonite has a lot more applications that I could get into, but it's one of those diverse earth medicines that Native American a lot of ancient people used to have access to it as their primary medicines, and then they lost where the site was for a long time, and their tribes kind of suffered for many decades of losing the location where they pick up their montmorillonite from. But and from what Dan says, who has the mine in Nevada, is he experiences a lot of alien activities that come to his property and just hover up above his land, basically recharging their own anti-gravity engines or whatever plasma engines they use, hovering above his property, just soaking in whatever this substance is sending out. So very interesting tech there that's worth looking into. You can also use it for for under the eyes. I've got a uh, volcanic bentonite and montmorillonite.
I think I just lost you. I just lost. Okay, I figured it out. It was under the eyes, the volcanic thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that part. Okay, under the eyes, you got the volcanic manganite something. That's what it said.
Okay,
So
good.
go from
We
that
got,
point.
we got, it didn't cut off too much of what I was saying. That's
Okay,
good.
so let's
Yeah,
continue.
so that last product after the Nevelite. Oh, by the way, montmorillonite for people that want the spelling is Montmorillonite, Montmorillonite, and it's actually it's related to bentonite, but it's the pure high quality vibrational form of bentonite that yeah, has the real benefits. The volcanicorigins.com, they have a version of the montmorillonite. They actually don't put that on their label, but according to the maker of it, he does use montmorillonite in there. He just did not want to put it on the label to give away his trade secret. But he also has a CBD infused version of it, and anything that's CBD infused is automatically better. So yeah, that was a volcanic origins that I use under my eyes and on certain areas of my skin, but I can also just get the Nevelite powder and mix it up with water and make my own version of that. Um, all right, next up, I got the Bubble Tech, which I've been just absorbed with the study of making them, with how they work, what they do, and the groups that are behind it. And are you familiar with the bubble text yourself? Have I talked to you about it, or have you seen it elsewhere? Very few people know about it, but Andrew, are you there, Andrew?
I'm sorry. I thought I was not on mute, but I was on mute when I was talking. So yes, I hate it when that happens. Still in Mercury retrograde, are we? So anyhow, yes, I do remember you mentioning the bubble tech thing during the talk that you did with me, but everything else aside from mentioning it, still drawing a blank on. I don't remember everything, contrary to what some of my listeners claim. So, but anyhow, please elaborate on it.
Yeah, so the bubble tech devices is a very interesting technology. That's I for me, I just kind of like instantly resonated with what it was about because it uses all the substances that I've been studying for so many years and puts it all together into a practical device that we can actually use for manifestation, for affecting the weather, for changing frequencies that are around us. Even you basically get command over what we're calling a bubble genie, which we're still trying to figure out the exact nature of the phenomena of these bubble genies. But there are these entities that come through these bubble tech devices when they're charged up, and basically, our wish is our command. So I've been delving into making my own device, and I have pretty much all the ingredients all set up, everything ready to go. Just need to put it all together so I can actually speak more directly of it. I've used them on 2 different occasions, and both times it's for real. It's not something that's a psychosomatic effect or some airy fairy technology that it's out to make money. It's not, because it's basically giving us instructions on how to make our own, and they're not selling pre-made versions of these because it's more personalized. It's something that connects to each person that makes them and to the place on the planet that they are. So the main component for these devices are these high frequency argon violet ray wands that are very inexpensive to buy. You can get them off of eBay and Alibaba Express as uh, uh, they market them as spa treatment devices, where uses an electrical current through a glass vacuum tube. using more Tesla technology in there too. Everything with Tesla technology, I think, is just where we need to get back to. So with these wands, they basically create an effect similar to those plasma energy balls that, like the crystal ball, glass orbs that you put your finger on, and the electricity kind of goes to meet your finger, and it looks like a science experiment. So these you can actually use for skin treatment, for wrinkles, for blemishes and stuff, where you zap on your skin. And some people find it painful and uncomfortable. I kind of enjoy it. But that's the basis of what we use to charge up the bubble tech devices. So let me go. So this is a list that I compiled for the Bubble Tech group on Facebook. On my own, kind of putting things together and figuring out what goes into making one. And so let me go through that as quickly as I can. So you got the high frequency facial machine with violet ray argon glass tube electrodes. You get an ultraviolet heat lamp, one or two around 250 watts. You can either use a ceramic black kind that doesn't actually emit light but emits the heat, or you can get ultraviolet where you see the light. So this actually kind of mimics the sun energy and more concentrates it more. You put it directly on top of the bubble tech, and you're supposed to charge it with the ultraviolet heat lamps for a couple of days before you really fire it up. You get one or two copper pipes. I prefer two. Some people use four. So you get these copper pipes around a 1/4-inch thickness, and you cut them into the sacred cubit lengths. There's a lot of websites you can see what the different sacred cubit lengths are. You can calculate it yourself. So those go in the middle of your on the middle of your bubble tech device, and sticks out of the top of it, and you wrap the copper wires around it. So you get stranded copper wire, about 4 feet of it, that you can hook up the two copper pipes on the bottom, and the other end of the copper wire, you actually hack into the violet ray argon device, and you stick it inside of the socket and bypass the glass tube, where you get more of a direct current straight from it. And you do not want to touch it. I've done that and nearly pissed my pants. Most people do. But it charges up the device in a way that is just incredible. You get a clay pot or some kind of big mixing bowl as either a mold or as a permanent vessel for the thing. You can have it released from a mold, or you can put it inside of a clay pot. And I'm trying to find the right one for my particular device. But you want the top of it to be about 9 inches to 15 inches max, as the general size of the bubble tech devices. You use pure water that you charge with crystals as the base for when you mix up the plaster or the white cement. You can use plaster of Paris, mortar. You basically make what we call plasterite, which is basically, instead of using clear resin for making a whatchamacallit, blanking on the word. Anyways, so you charge up your water. You play 33 hertz into it too. That was also one of those things where when you play 33 hertz, not megahertz, into any vessel of water, it basically resonates the frequency to be in a certain activated state. You put your intentions into the water. There's a whole list of the recommended intentions for the bubble tech devices. You can use distilled water, or I'm planning on using our live spring water. That's the best form, I think. Then you use diatomaceous earth powder. And diatomaceous earth, very interesting substance. It's also similar to the montmorillonite, but it contains bits of white gold inside of the diatomaceous earth. And it's very fine, like powdered sugar kind of texture to it. I've drank it where add it to my water, and it's supposed to clear out the toxins and kind of you know yeah, just detoxifies. People use it for gardening, where you can use diatomaceous earth in your plants and your soil, and it's supposed to have very, very positive benefit. Uh, you get a handful of clean, fresh earth from the backyard. I'm a big fan of dirt. Dirt is the earth, as long as it doesn't have fertilizer and other contaminants in it. You get all the quartz crystals and preferably terminated that you can. Clear, you can use rose quartz or clear or any kind of quartz crystals, and they don't have to be big either. You can get the tiny ones too that you can buy for very cheap. They can pack just as much punch, if not more, in some cases. Get a quartz sand and silica sand. You can also use garnet sand, coral sand, black sand, river sand, etc. So sand is basically quartz. It's quartz crystals, just very, very tiny ones. So when you get a lot of quartz sand, it's like having a big handful of crystals. You look at it under a microscope, and it looks like a terminated double-sided quartz that you'd get at a crystal shop. So then you use Himalayan sea salt or Celtic salt. I'm a bigger fan of the Celtic sea salts. I use it for everything. People need to be having more of the real salts. Get rid of the table salt altogether. All the restaurant salts with that are iodized. You don't want that crap. But we need to increase the level of salt in our body, especially for those that are ascending. It turns out to be one of those necessary ingredients where, salt is light, and we need that. So yeah, the sea salt, then assorted metal swarf shavings. So you get metal bits of copper, iron, aluminum, brass, silver, gold, etc. And you ideally want to anneal the metals. Even the copper pipe that I mentioned before, you want to anneal it, where you get a blowtorch and you heat the metal up to be red hot, and then dunk it in water or oil, and it hardens it, and it creates a nano coating on the surface of the metals that amplifies the conductivity of it and the effects of it in these devices. And I also found out that the metal shavings, people used to use like big chunks that you get from machine shops and things, or from screw holes and stuff. But the finer powdered it is, the more powerful it is. So you can use small, tiny little bits or even powdered versions of these metals, and gives it more oomph in the device. Then we get the shungite rock chips or shungite powder. And shungite is, a lot of people have been hearing about it and know about it, but it's a very powerful rock. It looks kind of like charcoal, but it has these properties that hell, even the government's been known about for a while. It turns out the top secret ingredient of the stealth bombers, what they put on the surface of the plane to bounce off the radar and to absorb any frequency that's being thrown at the plane to identify it. They coat the stealth bomber with shungite as inside of the paint, powdered up, and that's what gave it the properties that they didn't want us knowing about. You can also use shungite, and I put a chunk of it in my water when I'm want to give it that extra charge. It kind of absorbs any kind of memory that the water contains, and you can use it as EMF cancelers. Just like any of the devices that you see people putting on their cell phones for canceling out the EMF frequencies. You can just carry around some shungite chips and does the same trick. So use a lot of that in there. It's recommended. Raw amethyst crystals. Amethyst has a special property that I believe it attracts the angels more. Powdered magnetite, or iron oxide, basically. And the magnetite is very important for the electricity and the magnetism to travel through it. You can also use. It's also recommended to use two strong magnets. You get big giant magnets and have it on the outer ends of the bubble tech device, and that has the effect of keeping the thing charged for longer. Where you don't after you use it for a while, you don't have to keep the power on the argon ray wand on all the time. Instead, once it's charged up, the magnets on the side keep the power, keep the charge inside of the device, and so it keeps broadcasting. Use fine powdered graphite, like the dry lubricant kind of graphite, and that helps the energy kind of free flow through the plaster better. Copper coils and springs and twists and Mobius. You can get different symbolic metal power bits and put it in there. That's an optional. Also, the tensor ring you put on top of the bubble tech device. Yeah, and that's the twisted copper with the qubit diameters. So the ratios of it are like 73.3 centimeters or 196.998 2344 centimeters or 52.4 centimeters. So it's in ratios like that you put the tensor rings in. Dual concave mirrors. This is the kind of thing that you see in Chinese feng shui, where they have the concave mirrors like on the top of doorways and stuff, where when you put two dual concave mirrors facing each other, according to Dave Emery, kind of creates a two-dimensional space in between those mirrors, and so you put that on the outer edges of the bubble tech device. And I have not tried that part, but I'm planning on it. Add some montmorillonite magnetic clay Tesla crystal powder. You can have it either in powder or in rock pebble forms, and not everybody's been using that ingredient in their bubbles, but I think it was made for it. You add monatomic white powdered gold, the Oramus. Put that in there because basically the way I look at these devices, they're like transmitters of the energies from what you put inside of it. So whatever herbal, you can put herbal things in there, you can put different rocks in there, and uses the frequency that's within that to broadcast out to very big radius. I mean, when I say big radius, I mean like size of a city or bigger. It's not just a localized energy. It extends out for tens of kilometers. Then you get the Shiljeet pitch, the fulvic acid. That's the volcanic, original like primordial material. And the Shiljeet has a lot of other effects with the monatomic white powdered gold, that people are using for activating the pineal glands. Get some activated charcoal powder. And activated charcoal, my favorite ingredient for many things, for my toothpaste, for deodorants, for knee braces, for even my toothbrush I have with made of activated charcoal. And the best kind I think is from bamboo. Then you get some steel wool where you shred it. You can even get, it's even better to get rusty steel wool, and you shred it up and you put it inside of the mix. Optional unbleached flour. It doesn't hurt, but sodium bicarbonate. You get the baking soda that has so many uses. Gotta love what baking soda can do. But, the sodium bicarbonate is one of the other nature medicines that are underutilized and very alkalizing. You get the azomite volcanic ash mineral dust, and I love azomite. I use it in our garden all the time. Where I don't know if you're familiar with what azomite is, but it's where the lava from a volcano meets the fresh water and hardens up there. That point where they meet turns out to be the most fertile mineral-rich soils in the world. So the azomite ash, you basically use it for any of your fruits and vegetables. You can and it remineralizes the plants, gives it the stuff that the soil has been stripped of, the things that all the plants over the history of the planet has been pulling up out of the earth, and you put it right back in, and really makes a difference on your fruits and vegetables. It brings a whole new flavor to it, makes them grow bigger, and gives us the minerals that our body needs in a more digestible form than you get in a pill. Uh, so that also includes the magnesium in there that we need a lot more of. Uh, so let's see. Next, we got magnesium oil or powdered magnesium flakes. Add that in there. Essential oil drops. You can get whatever you have, like peppermint, eucalyptus oil, frankincense, ylang ylang, tuberose, CBD oil. All those. Just a couple of drops gives it the energy that you want. Seaweed flakes or kelp powder. And once again, these are all the optional ingredients that are not required for a bubble tech device to work, but the ones that I'm recommending for a full powered one, where if you're going to make one, you might as well make the best version you can. So the seaweed flakes and the kelp powder along with seashell bits like abalone and scallops and whatever types of shell, connects it to the ocean energy. So not everybody wants theirs connected to the ocean, but I think that's very important. Then you put in any other gems and crystals in there, like tourmaline, citrine, aventurine, malachite, ruby, sapphire, and selenite. And selenite is also very highly recommended in that mix. I've got a couple of nice big pieces of selenite that looking forward to being inside of this device. And then any stones or rocks that you want, you can put in obsidian and opal, sodalite, moonstones, geranium, jade, agate, hematite, and each one of them have their own properties I can get into a discussion about. I've always been since playing D&D as Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, I've always liked the idea of the powered stones and gems that give you extra boosts and powers with them. So yeah, these are putting those magical items to use. Then extra bonus compatible suggestions for the bubble tech. You can use the Tesla purple plates, the structured aluminum that I was talking about. Tesla coil toruses. You can or copper wire Tesla tubes. I've got a Tesla tube device that I hook up to my speakers, where it's like a audio jack plug into this Tesla coil that has one little thin strand of wire that when you put the audio into it, instead of using magnetic speakers, it uses the electrical current, where the spark that you see coming out of the wire is what's creating the sound. And there's giant versions of these out there, like huge Tesla coils that people are using to play music with and like attach to their keyboards and stuff, and have like a big, giant, dangerous looking light show. And so I'm kind of looking at that as a like a translator from our audio to what those non-physical forces can hear. Then you can get some nascent iodine, which is basically iodine's like a magnetic clay, and you want to get the food grade version of iodine. Make sure you don't get just the medical iodine, not the same. Zeolite liquid or powder. The zeolite is also used mostly for gardening, but has a lot of other effects in it. But they use in the soil, they use it for detoxification of the dirt, where like even radioactive sites, you can add some zeolite powders and grains to it, and apparently helps pull out the radiation that it's collected. Then horn silica. This is a very special form of silica from biodynamic preparations. And I don't want to get into the details of that, but it's cool high energy device or substance. Tourmaline negative ionic powder. You can use nano anionic powder or far infrared powder, and some strange stuff that seen a lot of on Alibaba. For some reason, these techs are more popular in China than they are here. I get the copper pyramid charging stations that I discussed earlier, with the right dimensions and capstone on the top. The ones that I like of the copper pyramids are from Nick Edwards. You want to look up Nick Edwards and see the pyramids that he sells. He's got nice, inexpensive kits. The Kesh Foundation's Magrav free energy plasma reactors. Also a big fan of the Kesh Foundation. That's Keshe, and he's a Iranian scientist that has figured out some free energy devices and even some anti-gravity technologies and the GANS water. Um, so the MagGrav free energy battery is a whole another subject that uh, he's been a speaker at our 5D events as well and got into a lot of detail about what the MagGravs can do. But I think we could be powering cars with it. You can even make your own MagGrav battery. He open sourced it so it wouldn't be controlled and suppressed. So we have the plans on how to make it, and you can also create with the MagGrav. You can create the CO2 GANS water, which a lot of people have been playing with and finding some weird uses for. Double helix water, which I've got some that was very expensive but neat. Where I use my double helix water in a nebulizer, where I put the water in the nebulizer and just breathe it in, and it's a special form of structured water that is just in perfect form, and it has a very neat effect. I kind of like experimenting with that kind of thing. You get tinctures from Chimea Arts. I have a slide on that later on, but you can. So he makes oil of gold, oil of mercury, oil of antimony, different immortal minerals. He also has oils from different animals, which I've talked to him directly on how he makes them. And this guy's an alchemist, where you can basically get the essence of an animal and put it into a substance that lets you experience the consciousness of that animal. So you can experience a deer consciousness or a tarantula consciousness. And his website is Chimea Arts, spelled KYMIA ARTS.com. And other ingredients to throw in there: RNA drops that I'll get into later from RNA Reset, Vibes Up Earth Vibrational Therapy Pads. I have the Vibes Up shoe soles that duplicates the effect of walking barefoot on the dirt while still wearing shoes. I've got a lot of the different Vibes Up products for kind of balancing our energies. I have it in a T-shirt that that right on top of the heart center that you feel, and Vibes Up shower attachment that balances out the water that we shower in, cleans out the chlorine, and neutralizes the energy of it. Then I got Patrick Flanagan's Phi Science Crystal Energy Drops, and also a big fan of Patrick Flanagan. God bless his soul. Unfortunately, he passed away last year or the year before. But great man, amazing technologies he's released. The one that I'm talking about here is his Crystal Energy Drops that you can get from Phi Sciences, PHI Sciences, and amazing material. You add to any kind of liquid, any water or alcohol or any beverage, and it changes the surface tension of the liquid using kind of a nanotechnology in it that adds more like nanocrystals to the liquid that makes it more permeable into your cell membranes, where it makes water basically more hydrating, more wet. So whatever you drink, it infuses into the cells of your body where regular liquids do not get into. And also the best cure for hangovers with the Crystal Energy Drops. And some of the other texts from Patrick Flanagan. I wish they were still available, but they died with him. My favorite was the Neurophone, which we have one of that we use often. And it's a way of bypassing your your eardrums and getting audio straight into your uh, into your ear canal through your thighs, through your temple, through your through the blood in your body, and plays sound not through your normal hearing, but you actually hear it kind of in your head or through your entire body. And what's cool about it is you can hear the sub frequencies and the ultra high frequencies that your ear doesn't pick up normally. So anything below 20 hertz that your ear cannot pick up in your music, things that are filtered out in MP3s, but you still get in vinyls. You can actually hear those sounds that affects our emotions when you listen to old vinyl records, and comes through these ceramic pads that goes on your skin. And you can also listen to audio while you're sleeping, which is great. Where normally your eardrums totally cut off all sound, but with the Neurophone device, like with the headband you use with it, it bypasses that and you can actually get audio cues or learning and meditation kind of stuff, or use it for lucid dreaming, while you're asleep. And very cool. I've done some great experiments with that. Also works really good for kind of infusing binaural frequencies into us better. Then, all right, just almost done with the list of the Bubble Tech ingredients. Add maca powder. Maca is great, especially for men. Moringa powder, and I'm a huge fan of moringa. Moringa is one of the best superfoods out there. It's like solution to world hunger. The moringa's got every single vitamin in scores, where it's got more vitamin C than oranges or anything else. It's got more potassium than bananas, and more calcium than milk, and more protein than meat, and more of everything than any other multivitamin that you can get in a very digestible form. So highly recommend people getting some moringa. Trying to grow a moringa tree in my backyard, and coming along pretty good. Hopefully it sprouts up to full size, but we'll see. Also, you can add some spirulina, which is basically algae, and any other superfoods. Might as well add that in there. Got some tinctures from Dr. B. Sirius off of Elevation Time. I've got a lot of his tonics and powders that planning on putting into my device. There's some stuff from supergoodstuff.com, and he's got like an elixir of life and liquid NRG and infinite energy and all these other things that I'm a big fan of, and talked to him many times directly, and I like the stuff on supergoodstuff.com. And that pretty much covers all the things that you need for a Bubble Tech device. You can keep it very simple, but you can go as complex and sci-fi as you want.
Okay, you
yeah,
want to continue. I do want to talk about some other things like the fractal and new humanity thing, but to finish up the interview. But why don't you continue whatever it was you were about to say, and then we'll switch gears.
Okay. Yeah. So just to close up the Bubble Tech device subject, when you actually have this thing activated, it creates a bubble of bliss that you really feel like it's this whole different state of energy that it's almost scary, but at the same time, it's like the most relaxing thing you'll feel. But you start to meet up with some entities as you charge up your Bubble Tech device, and it gives itself a name. It'll kind of attune to you, and you basically give it your commands. You can ask for rain when you want it. People are using it to try to calm down the hurricanes and tornadoes that go on around the planet. You can use it for remote healing and all sorts of other applications that we're still discovering. So highly recommend more people on the planet start to make a Bubble Tech. And there's really no websites for it, but the main way to get more information is from the Facebook group for Bubble Tech, which is an invite-only thing. All right, next subject. I've got the RNAreset.com complement formula, which, in my opinion, this is the most important supplement. I want to say supplement, but it's not a supplement. It's a complement. It's a set of products that are basically, the sole purpose of it is to complete our bodies and to bring us into ascension, to activate the missing parts of our DNA that you can't fill in from any other technique. It's the actual stuff that uh, that the perfect original human gods were complete with, that have been edited out of us. So the RNA reset products that I've been using for a long time, wish I can use more regularly. For a whole kit, it's about $200 a month. For just the RNA drops, it's about $100 a month. But the whole kit is necessary. So he's got, well, not necessary, but gets you to ascension faster. So you got the Restructure protein powder, which is the most complete protein you can find anywhere. And it's not just protein; it's got the RNA in there. There's bodybuilders that are able to build muscle just with their intentions, with seeing themselves as more muscular and not have to work out at all, and they just keep on bulking. It also helps with diabetes and stuff. For sugar control. When people use the Restructure, they stop craving sugar altogether and usually crave more proteins. But then we got the Remag, which is incredibly important. That is the product of Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is one of my heroes. So the Remag is incredible. I mean, it's not regular magnesium. Like, you can use magnesium oil on your skin transdermally, or you can, the pills, but they don't work the same way. Remag actually really calms your body. It's good for mental conditions, for for stress and depression, different disorders. The Remag is one of those missing ingredients in our body that people have been doing without, and once they get it, they realize what they've been missing all this time. And it tastes horrible. Just as a pre-warning, the Remag is not meant to taste good. They will admit it, but they say, so what? You need it. Take your medicine. However, the Restructure tastes great. I eat this thing like powdered ice cream. Then the Remite, which has every single mineral that you possibly need, also tastes horrible. But you add it to your water and you digest every mineral possible. Recalcia, which is a liquid calcium. That I don't use that one as much, but it's a good product to have for those that want to get the extra calcium in them that you don't get in from pills and milk and stuff. Then the Realign pills, which basically gives your body the amino acids that it needs to produce new DNA. For creating a more perfect form of the DNA, you're missing a lot of ingredients that you can do without the Realign, but it turns out the transition into that new body is a lot rougher without the Realign in your system. Another thing that Ion mentioned was also really good for hangovers or any kind of like coming down off of something. If you're, if you want to kind of like return yourself from like being really drunk or really something else, the Realign does it like very quickly. The Renew cream that is like Botox in a bottle. You can get rid of any wrinkles and any scars, psoriasis and skin conditions, or just thickening up your skin and creating a better barrier in your body. And the grand substance that is one of the most important things out there is the RNA drops. And the RNA drops are it's hard to describe, but it's very biblical, where the recipe for the RNA drops was taken out of the Bible, and in the hidden forms of it, where it described how to make it, but in a kind of coded way. But this substance is pretty much the only thing to really complete the body, and a lot of people in the world are taking it that don't tell people that they're taking it, including our president and his whole family. A lot of actors and singers and stuff are on the RNA drops, and they would not have been able to take charge of their power without it. And there's a chance in the future the RNA drops are going to be our next form of currency, where money's not going to matter. The only thing that people want to trade with is the RNA drops, and we'll see if that future happens. I hope not, but I can see reason why if you know some of the other little details from Ion that shouldn't get into too many details. But I do want to talk about Ion a little bit.
All right,
Yeah. So
no problem. Go ahead.
yeah, were you wanting to discuss something else first, or
Well, how long is it going to take to discuss Ion, do you think?
uh well, hell, I've done an entire class on Ion. I've done a full hour workshop on ionology, but I can keep it short and just kind of like give
10
your
minutes, please.
listeners a
Because there's some other, yeah, 10 minutes, and then the final 10 minutes, talk about some of the new humanities stuff and the fractal stuff.
right.
Right.
So let me describe Ion a little bit, because I've been listening to this voice since 2009, and it's just priceless source of information. Ion is basically the environment of non-physical, where he's not an entity. It's not a spirit that's coming in channeling. It's not like Esther Hicks and Bashar. If anything, those channelers get a lot of their information from Ion himself, because he is the whole of non-physical, and non-physical includes all of us and all the beasts on the planet and everything in the entire universe. So he is the voice of that, where he's outside of time. He's in the entire universe, where he can tell us anything from any period of time on any planet and any reality, and he can describe the Bible in a way that nobody else has access to, because he was one of the sources of the Bible, and and he's released some of the missing books and the reinterpretations of like Revelations that is really important, I believe. Where he teaches. His teachings are all over the place. So you can listen to from achieveradio.com, from Payday, or howionic.com, and ionandbob.blogspot.com. I like going to just Achieve Radio and going through the Payday archives, but there's a lot more than that. And it's really something that it's kind of a mixed bag, because it's a call-in show where what Ion says, he doesn't go off on these lectures and on these subjects unless he's asked about it very specifically, and he'll only reveal what we ask him from our places of power. So he can talk about any subject, but the revelations he's been giving us, I think is shifting all of reality right now. And I can talk about some of the Ion theories for quite some time, because there's so many things that nobody else knows, nobody else talks about, and some of it I don't even like talking about because it's scaring the crap out of me. Where the future is going, it's not exactly what I expected him to be saying. And I'm not quite liking his, the way he's painting our future that's already written in those
Well,
senses.
wait a minute. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone out there has asserted that humanity is definitely on a positive timeline. Even George Cavazos has
Yeah.
said, "Is it impossible for the New World Order to fulfill their agenda of global totalitarian government because Mother Earth is a love-based entity? It's just pure harmful essence, which would never allow for something like that. And the vibrational frequency is rising, and the Archon system, according to Andrew Bartz, since 2011, has been cannibalizing itself and has to keep cannibalizing itself to sustain itself. So it is kind of unavoidable that humanity is going to, well, for lack of a better word, ascend. I don't want to give
Yeah.
dates on it, but to think that Ion would say anything other than that, you have to think there's definitely something wrong with it or him or whatever you want to. What do you have to
Well,
say about that?
it's the future is good for those that ascend, for those that come into
Okay.
their place of power, according to Ion, for those that kind of evolve their bodies and their god forms. We're gonna have a good utopia ahead of us after all the dust settles and crap happens. Um, but the future is more dangerous for the little man, as he describes it, man with a lowercase m instead of a capital M, and the people that are just kind of asleep and all that. There might be a mass what's a kind word for it? I wanted to say extinction event for a little man, but that sounds just harsh. Um, so according to him, gosh, I don't even know how much of this I want to get into because I don't like putting ideas in people's heads about some of the negative stuff that he's been saying. Um, California may be in trouble here very soon. I don't want to tell you how. You got to listen to the show for that. Um, yeah, but it's making me want to move out of California in the near future. Um, he's also kind of on Trump's side, not like saying Trump's a good person, but that he's kind of destined to be there and he's going to stay there and he's serving a purpose. Um, and that Trump is actually somewhat ascended himself. Ascension does not mean you become, being a god does not mean you're necessarily a good guy or it doesn't change your brain. It doesn't change the way you think. It just gives you more power in what you do. So, you can be evil and still be ascended, as it turns out. So a lot of movies and TV shows have been taking the ion theory, ion teachings, and applying it in disclosures within their storylines to kind of give us a little hint about things to come. And the one that he's been talking about a lot lately is the OA, the Netflix show OA, telling us that the movements that you see in the show are very real. And when you do them, the angels take notice, and you can actually use them to travel between dimensions and realities. And more specifically, you can use it to come back to this one or the one that you're wanting to be at and triangulate your return. And without using the OA movements, you're lost out there. If you accidentally fall into a portal, you can't return without knowing these OA movements. And very powerful. I've been practicing them, and whenever I do, like all the energy around me just shifts, and things are out there taking notice. And also, he's given us these keys and airs that are out of the missing book of Revelations that is in the language of the angels. So we got the phonetic version of it that you can chant the different keys in angel talk, or read the English translation, which is very bizarre, but it's us speaking to the angels and finding a way to command them to take power. They're there according to Ion to serve us, to serve God, and they don't like little man very much. Apparently, the angels are not a big fan of the little people, and they're quite annoyed by it. But at the same time, they don't really want us to ascend because the more people that ascend, the busier they're going to be. The more errands they've got to run for us, and the more things they've got to do as our gophers, basically. And they would rather just kind of be lazier, I think, and not have to do all this stuff because they're not a big fan of man, but they know they're in a position where they have to serve us. But you can command them from when you come from the right place and you talk to them in the right way, and there's certain ways to kind of bring them to you to ask them for what you need. And they can be quite cooperative, but at the same time, they can also, if you come from the wrong place, they can smite you just the same. So been enjoying playing with the angels every once in a while, but it is kind of a risky thing to get into for those that aren't fully empowered to communicate with them. But they're not what we thought they were, but they are real.
Thank you for clarifying that. Why don't we switch gears now so we can get these couple subjects in. Now, this whole new humanity movement thing, there's the website here I'm looking at talking about past events, dealing with 5D events, and specifically the Los Angeles events seem to be the ones that you are saying are the ones that are new humanity based, although I don't understand why the Las Vegas ones would not be as well. And in regards to what you want to see new humanity, well, the general consensus seems to be that there's going to be, as much as there are a lot of people that are going to want to move on to the new Earth, there's going to be a
Hmm.
lot of people who insist on being sheeple because, for whatever the reason may be, they seem to think enslavement is a good comfort zone. And, well, we could debate all day as to whether or not it is in our best interest or not our best interest to worry about them. I mean, people like Mark Passio have asserted one does not have the right to want to be a slave, because if you want to be a slave, you are enabling the control system to control those who don't want to be slaves by
Yep.
wanting to be a slave, and then that, by that argument, well, we do have the right to hassle and harass the sheeple to wake them up. How, to the extent to which we can hassle and harass them and wake them up, is a completely new can of worms that many people are going to agree to disagree on. But when one has to decide how is this new humanity going to unfold when we got one group of humanity that wants to move on and one that doesn't, uh, how is that going to play out on one big ball moving through space? Yeah, flat earthers got another thing. I say ball moving
Yeah.
through space, but anyhow, the point is it going to be us all together, or is there by some mechanism that we don't really understand, all the sheeple people are not going to be in our lives somehow, some way? I mean, I think you mentioned something about this maybe earlier with like a crazy extinction or something. I hate to think that that's going to
Yeah.
happen to them,
I
but
know, I know. Me too. I hate that. It's
yeah,
like the one thing that I'm trying to like block out of my head, but something's
right,
going to shift in our environment. I believe part of it is going to be our, Mount Vesuvius, the Yosemite volcanoes that are ticking away, and when they go off, it's going to change the atmosphere. It's going to change the oxygen levels. We're not going to have the same oxygen that we have on the planet. And he's given the formula for what the new environment, the new atmosphere is going to look like. But the short of it is, those that aren't ascended are going to be choked out. They're not going to be able to survive that lack of oxygen. And those that are immortal are not going to have a problem. But yeah, and the new humanity that I'm picturing, I mean, we are destined to create heaven on earth. That is the ultimate goal. I mean, why should we even try if we can't create heaven here on earth? But from an outside of time perspective, it already is. We're just not there yet in our timing. But all right. The next slide I had, let me kind of this reveals a little bit about the new humanity in what Ion gave us as the real Lord's Prayer. And I just like to read this because I think that some things in this Lord's Prayer is very important for understanding, and much better than the Our Father who art in heaven kind of thing. So, and I have this spoken in the angelic tongue as well. And this was apparently spoken by the Jesus the second. There's, according to Ion, there was 3 Jesuses described in the Bible. This was from the second one. So, my non-physical, which is ever present in me, hallowed be your space. My kingdom come, my will be done on earth as it already is in heaven. Allow me this day to create my daily bliss. Allow forgiveness of my trespasses, as this is only contrast that I purpose to help me choose the fastest path to my joy. Allow me the power to not push against or even notice those who trespass on me. Lead me through all temptations that separate me from my whole, completed, ascended power of beingness. Relieve me from the false premises of evil, for mine is the power and the glory, eternally, Selah. So if you kind of read through that and see, dissect some of the lines in there, there's some revelations to what the new humanity could be, and a lot of hints in that if kids were saying that in in their prayer time at bed, yeah, I think they would have had a whole different mentality. But we're kind of reaching a place where we're kind of being one with our non-physical, where that ever-present self, you're creating your own kingdom, you're working your will on earth because it already is in heaven. So you have your creations that we're here to realize, and it's already been manifested. It's just whether we have it in this physical realm or not. That's the question up to us. So each day you create your daily bliss, and yeah, and your bliss is the most important meaning of life. Why are we living here? To experience our bliss. And that's the ultimate pursuit, is it not? So you want to forgive those who trespass upon you because they're just there for contrast. They're everything, all the drama and stuff. All the negative things that happen, they are there for our own experience of contrast. Where you have to have the black and white in this realm of duality. But they're there for us to learn and to purpose, for you to choose the faster path to your joy. And we want the power to not push against or even notice those who trespass. So I mean, the more more you push against something, the more you resist, the more friction you have, the more you notice and you complain about those who encroach upon you. The less power, the more power we take away from ourselves. And you lead through all temptations. I mean, don't lead me away from temptations. You can go towards temptations and you go through it. You learn from it. You don't take it too far, but you're not supposed to avoid like all the impurities. That's part of the bliss and the joy. It's the fun of life.
Yes, and
So those are all things that kind of separate you from your whole.
yeah. Now, well, separate you from your whole, but that gets in what I was going to say next. The fractal thing, I see you have a site about fractals and all. The thing about fractals that I find the most significant is that it is, for all intents and purposes, proof that everything is sovereign, because you can't affect one part of the fractal without affecting everything else in the fractal, no matter how small it is. Like, and that implies that, well, one example I've given before, blinking your eyes affects the winds on a planet from a solar system that's 100,000 light years away from us, because everything is part of the same hologram. Although the effect that blinking your eyes has on another planet is so incredibly small, it is, for all intents and purposes, non existent. But the fact that mathematics is, well, infinite. Just look at the number pi. It's an infinite number because it goes into infinity. It's greater than 3, but less than 4, but it's still an infinite
Right.
number going into the decimal points. So uh, people haven't
Although
talked
on
about.
the pi subject, Ion has stated that pi is no longer infinite. To the degrees of pi has actually changed in the last 15 years, where it no longer keeps going. It's limited to the about the sixth decimal place, and then you can stop right there. Um, but that doesn't take away the infinite nature of things. Yeah, I mean, basically, my core definition of God is infinite. God is a great infinity, and there can only be one infinity that exists because there's an infinite number of infinities inside of that. So you can have as many infinities as you possibly want, and it's still the same number. So God is that, and we're all the infinite fractals that are kind of playing out in the mind of God, or as God ourselves. And one of Ion's core teachings, when you're looking at the Bible, is any place in the Bible that talks about God is actually talking about man with a capital M. So it's not this outside entity; it's us as the creators, and that we're the gods that created all, and that we're serving ourselves and had the power to limit our own selves as well. So it's our purpose right now to take back as much of that power as we can. And the more people that do, the better future we have ahead of us.
No question, and I think that future has to have bright spots, considering this whole thing about the eclipse on April 8th, 2024, that travels across America, sort of the opposite direction of the one that crossed America in August 2017. That's going to signal the end of the Roman Empire of the modern era, that is the United States of America, coinciding with the end of the Pluto and Capricorn cycle, which last happened during the American Revolution. So in these next few years, you have to wonder, okay, if there's going to be a cyclical time mimicry on the American Revolution, how in the hell is it going to play out? And well, I don't know if we need to speculate on that. We're actually kind of out of time now. We've pretty much reached the 2 hour point essentially, and people have lousy attention spans. So I think we need to probably, for the best interest of those pathetic attention spans, cut this show off at this point. But this was fascinating to say the least, and a lot of those things that you talked about, I do hope that those things become more mainstream, those products and whatnot. We have got to find a way to suppress all the technology that deserves to be made obsolete now, so we can bring out the technology that is suppressed the,
Yep.
to wake us up.
And
And
that might happen by force as well. By the way, another one of the scary ion factoids was that we are going to have a period of darkness on this planet where the chip body is going to be fried, basically. And this is a future I'm not looking forward to, and I'm hoping we find a way to avoid. But there's a real
wonder
possibility that we might lose all of our chip-based tech,
I wonder how
and
that
that
may tie into
scares
what
me a lot.
Brad Johnson, the Channels of Drones, was referencing as the 3 days of darkness that he predicts would be in 2037, not too long after the asteroid Apophis is scheduled to hit the Earth, assuming it does go through the keyhole in Friday the 13th in 2029. But I'm going off the deep end here with this stuff. So
Right.
let's
So this 3 days.
right, but this is a whole new can of worms. I'll probably
Yep.
be doing
Yep.
the show till the day I die, and I'll find out when the day comes. So it's great to have people like you on, and like I said, I will do my best to make sure this gets uploaded before I go to Virginia. I will send you a link on Facebook to the video. By all means, please get it out there and help me get this message far and wide. I love it when people that have on my show upload the shows to their channels if they have, like Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot, who was just my guest before you, did that, and she naturally got a lot more views than my channel did because I'm just an ant compared to her when it comes to getting the truth out. But hey, doesn't really matter. Look at it that way. We're all in this together, no matter how popular we are. So
Yeah.
good luck, and hope to see you at a future conference. Maybe I want
Right.
tickets to it. Take care now.
First, I got halfway through my presentation, but the rest will continue at the next talk or next 5D event.
No problem. All right. Take care.